we as believers will not oppress one another. Rasulullah said in a hadith of Muslim, he said, a Muslim is a brother to another Muslim. He does not oppress him, nor does he leave him at the mercy of others. He does not oppress him. And yet we see more oppression given out to our brothers and sisters by Muslims in the world. In the Arab world and in the Asian world, the Muslim rulers, what do? In Yemen, shoot people dead because they're protesting against dictatorship and tyranny. How many people died in Egypt? What's happening in Libya today? Who's killing these people? Not non-Muslims, the Muslims are killing them. Shooting, firing at the Muslims. Anyone who kills a Muslim, Rasulullah said, is not going to go to Jannah. No thinking like that. Because such people have not understood their faith. Of course, they're serving a particular agenda, but we haven't created an environment to change that sufficiently, challenge that sufficiently. I was so pleased when Egypt fell from the hands of Mubarak and came back to the people, and we pray Allah Azza wa Jal makes it better and more stable. Say Ameen. For we don't want any more dictators and tyrants ruling them. So, duties that we have with one another. Look at this beautiful saying of Rasulullah. A believer has 6 rights over another believer. Very practical one, he said. When he meets, he greets him by saying Salaam Alaikum. When he gets invited, he accepts the invitation. When he seeks advice, he is given the advice. When he sneezes and says Alhamdulillah, he says Yarhamukumullah, praising and praying for him and his mercy. When he's ill, he gets a visitation. And when he dies, he is followed all the way to the graveyard. Very practical. To create the bond of brotherhood together. What do we do in return? We think younger ones should always say salam to the older ones. The older ones hardly say salam to the younger ones in some cultures. I'm old, you should say salam to me. Waiting for salam. Hello. Well, they're waiting for me to say salam to them. I don't understand. I used to get really, I used to laugh at it when I was younger. So I used to tease my elders, but they wouldn't say anything. And they would get into trouble afterwards. They would tell my dad, your son is so bad, he doesn't say salam to us. My dad is quite liberated. He said, well, why didn't you say salam to him in return? But, this is wrong. Whoever meets whoever should say salam. Rasulullah said, those who are sitting down, the one who walks in should say salam. A very beautiful example of Rasulullah. He used to say salam to his companions. He used to say salam to younger ones. He used to hug them and kiss them anytime he met them. I remember there is a very beautiful story. A man came to Rasulullah. Prophet picked up his son and gave him a kiss. He said, oh Prophet of Allah, I have so many children, I don't kiss anybody. Prophet said, what can I do if Allah has deprived you of love? What can I do if there is no love in your heart? Or another incident when a man came to Rasulullah with his son. Rasulullah took the son on his lap and the boy urinated on his clothes. The father screamed, oh my Lord, what have you done? This is the Prophet of Allah. Picked up the son and took him away. Prophet said, what's the matter with you? Why are you screaming like that? Ya Rasulullah, he's urinated on your clothes. And listen to what Prophet said. It will shock you, he said. For the urine that has fallen on my clothes can be washed away. But for what you have done to this boy's self-esteem can never be repaired. You listening? For what you have done to this boy's self-esteem can never be repaired. When you were young, do you remember your dad telling you off in public? It hurts. It hurts more than if you're told off in private. In fact, in Islam, we're discouraged from telling our children off in public. Unless public needs to know that there has been something done to do with public order. Otherwise, you're not allowed to rebuke your children in public. You need to take them in private. Tell them, teach them a lesson. And the modern parenting technique says, if you are tall and your son is small, if you shout at them from the top, they don't listen. If you sit down to their level, eye-to-eye contact, and reason with them, they listen. And they respond. Who taught us all this? Rasulullah, we see this in his life, in vivid examples and vividly given. So he gave clear examples of how we should greet, how we should accept invitation. Some cultures have this very strange idea. If I say, please come to my house for dinner, I have to say no first. No, brother, it's okay. Please come. No, brother, it's okay. You have to say no at least 7 times before you accept it. Why? Are you being falsely modest about it? If you're hungry, yes, brother, thank you very much, let's eat. If I said that, you'd say, oh my God, look at this greedy man. Every time he gets an invitation, he accepts. Did Rasulullah ever reject an invitation? No. If you're unwell, you can explain to your host, I'm not feeling very well. I'll have a glass of water. I'm one of those guests who are very difficult to please. I don't drink tea, I don't drink coffee, I've got lots of things that I don't eat or drink. So if I go to your house, you'll have trouble, I can tell you now. But if you give me a glass of water, I'm very happy. I'm very content. But my uncles and aunties get very upset. This boy doesn't drink tea, doesn't drink coffee, doesn't have chili. What are we going to serve him? But that's okay. You keep your side of the bargain. You've been invited, go, because that increases the love that you have. Visit one another increases the love. Do not give advice unless they're asking for advice. We have this bad habit of giving advice before we've been asked for it. Rasulullah said, the brother's right is to only give them advice when they're asking for it. We like giving advice more often than taking advice ourselves. So these are practical examples of how to increase our brotherhood and our love for one another. Muslim love for one another for the sake of Allah. On the Day of Judgment, when there will be no shade, but except the shade Allah gives, there will be 7 categories of people who will receive the shade from Allah. Guess what? There will be one of those who would have loved one another for the sake of Allah. If you love one another for the sake of Allah, Allah will give you shade on the Day of Judgment when there will be no shade. And brothers and sisters, we must love for our brothers what we love for ourselves. That's the hardest one. It does not literally mean I have a BlackBerry phone, so all my brothers should have my BlackBerry phone. It's not what it literally means. It means if I love to be treated kindly and respectfully, I should give the same in return, or give that first because I expect it. If I like to eat, I need to think about my brother and my sister if they have eaten. And a typical example, when you go home, do you think about who has not eaten after you? Or do you just walk into the kitchen, find whatever, finish it off, forget about who has eaten after you? That's your family, for Allah's sake. You should think about your family. What about your brothers? In one of the battle, I can't remember the name of the battle, I think it was one of those probably was a battle of Tabuk, when a group of companions had fallen. And a group of them were shouting out for water. And a companion brought a bucket of water and went to the first one. The first one said, give it to my next brother, for he's more thirsty than me. And the next one said, give it to the other brother, he's more thirsty than me. The next one said, give it to the other brother, he's more thirsty than me. So by the time the companion had traveled all the way to the last one said, please give it to the first one because he called out first. He came to the first one, first one had died. Second one had died. And all passed away. They were on the deathbed anyway. But look at what they were prepared to do in order to accept what they love for themselves. They would love it for their brothers. Rasulullah would not eat without sharing it with his companions. There's a nice story. Abu Hurairah used to be mostly unconscious, semi-conscious, hungry in the masjid of Rasulullah. That's why he's able to narrate so many stories, because he used to stay in the mosque. And he used to be so hungry, he never had any good food. One day Rasulullah came and said, Ya Abu Hurairah. Abu Hurairah got up. As soon as Rasulullah calls him like this, he knew there is food. Very happy food. Rasulullah said, yes, I've got some food, but can you go and call the Ashab al-Suffa, those people who have come, who are the political asylum seekers, in our modern term, 300 of them, please bring them too. He goes, Ya Rasulullah, what have you got? I've got a glass of milk. Got a glass of milk? Me and 300 others? Abu Hurairah was a bit upset. Rasulullah said, go and get them. They came. Rasulullah said, Abu Hurairah, put it in a container and serve everybody. And he served everybody glasses of milk and they all drank. Rasulullah now said, Abu Hurairah, give me the container. Rasulullah took the container. He poured a glass of water. Rasulullah said to Abu Hurairah, you drink. He drank. Another glass. Now you drink. He drank. Another glass. You drink. Ya Rasulullah, I have no space in my belly. Have you drunk too much? Now this was the love of Rasulullah for one another, the love of the companions for one another, and we need to instill that in ourselves, in our values. Otherwise, our unity will disappear. And final one, my brothers and sisters, is we must work together to spread peace and establish peace between one another. We must work hard to spread peace and establish peace and make peace between one another. Ufshu salam, said the Prophet, spread peace. And he said, and when the brothers are in dispute, bring peace between them. Not stoke up fire and not go and say things that will make one angry over the other, not backbite and slander, not make up stories and try and tangle the feelings and emotions, not go and cause trouble more than it's worth, not do any of that, but make peace between them. Between the two brothers or brothers, make peace. Allah Azza wa Jalla said that in the Quran. So, in a nutshell, unity is not only essential, in fact, it's an obligation. And disunity, discord is against Islam. whether you follow a school of thought, whether you come from a different country, wallahi, it makes no difference. Ultimately, on the Day of Judgment, we'll all stand and we'll be asked one question. We'll be asked those questions equally to every single one of us. Allah Azza wa Jalla is very just and is very fair. We'll be all in trouble if we have failed in delivering what we are supposed to deliver with one another. What is that? And I want to finish off with this reminder to all of us. Brothers and sisters, on the Day of Judgment, Allah, out of His mercy, may forgive us and send us to heaven for failures that we have had against Him. So if I didn't pray, Allah may forgive me, I don't know. But I need to pray, of course. But if I didn't, anything that I've done that is wrong against Allah, Allah may forgive us on the Day of Judgment. Because that is His right and in His hand. On the Day of Judgment, however, if I have done something wrong with you, Allah will not interfere. Allah will not interfere. I have to amend my account with you first. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. There's a very strong hadith on this very thing. A man will appear on the Day of Judgment with mountain high good deeds. But people will be queuing up, saying, Ya Allah, this person owes me, he hurt me, did bad things against me, blah, 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 long list of things. Allah will say to him, now how are you going to mend your account with these people? What have you got? Ya Allah, I have nothing. Well, you'll have to give them your good deeds. So he'll start giving away his good deeds. The line will still be long. His good deeds will disappear. We'll have nothing left in his account. Ya Allah, I have nothing left. Well, now you'll have to take their bad deeds. And he'll start taking bad deeds of people that he had hurt, people that he had wronged, people that he was rude to. You know what will happen to him? Eventually he will end up in the fire. Why? Because he did not mend his account. So no matter who you are, what you believe in, what's your personal view on a particular matter,